Last week, I was making cookies. But when I tried to buy some mint chips to put in my cookies, the store I was at didn't have any. No problem, I'll just buy some Andes mints and crush them up for my cookies. A little more expensive, but it's worth it. And I was honestly a little bit surprised at how similar in price the Andes mints were to the bag of mint chips. At least I was until I opened the package. Now, I'm not the first person to fall for misleading packaging, and I certainly won't be the last. One Reddit user recently posted about the bottle of super glue they bought because they were afraid that the small tube wouldn't be enough, only to find out that the bottle was secretly just a small tube. Now, unfortunately, most of these deceptive packages are quite legal. Labeling requirements usually dictate that the package must have the net weight clearly stated, and these packages always do. If you're paying attention, you'll realize you're only getting 1/8 of an ounce of glue, or half as many mint pieces. But our brains make judgments based on appearance, and digging into the math isn't something that we all do while shopping. And this kind of packaging is only getting more common as inflation explodes. Instead of increasing prices to accommodate inflation, companies will often just decrease the size of the package. It's called shrinkflation, and it is insanely effective. Customers often don't realize the difference, and the company not only makes the same amount of money for less product, but they also save money on packaging because they're now using less material. But as infuriating as those examples are, I would still argue that there are times where misleading packaging is perfectly ethical. For example, many people complain about deceptive packaging on Doritos and other chips because, let's be honest, the bag is like 90% air. But this practice, called slack fill, actually serves an important purpose. First of all, the air isn't just normal air, it's nitrogen, which is used as a preservative to help keep the chips fresh. And the fill ratio is specifically designed to keep the chips from breaking. Matt Pat over on Food Theory actually rigorously tested this and found that the fill ratio of Doritos is the most effective at preventing broken chips. Adding more chips to the bag or even less chips to the bag led to way more broken chips. Not only that, but when they fill the bag with chips and all the chips are unbroken, the bag is actually pretty much completely full. It's just that they break and settle during travel, leaving all of the air afterward. So the chip packaging isn't deceptive, it's effective. On the other hand, that super glue example I showed you earlier seems pretty much just terrible. They are actively increasing their packaging cost and contributing excess plastic waste simply to mislead the customer. Not only that, but the unnecessary shell actually makes it harder to get the glue out of the tube. So you may end up with functionally less glue than if you had just bought the smaller package. So the glue packaging is less effective and manipulative, which makes it super unethical. But this level of nuance doesn't just apply to packaging. Most immoral behavior requires some level of intent. When you say something false, but you believe it's true, we don't say that you're accidentally lying. We just say that you're wrong. And knocking someone over because you bumped into them is completely different from tackling them. Intent matters. So the next time you're frustrated by some misleading packaging, ask yourself whether it serves some sort of functional or effective purpose before venting your unending rage on the entire internet. But if you're the person who designed this stupid, useless tube of glue, you should be ashamed of yourself.